West Coast have come crashing back down to earth. G'day from the West, Lucas here, and welcome back to another Footy West video. Today we are talking about the weekend's proceedings. Waalitj Marawar, the West Coast Eagles, went down to Kuwarna, the Adelaide Crows, by 66 points at the Adelaide Oval on Sunday afternoon in Adelaide. And as an Eagles fan, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this was one of the most frustrating games, if not the most frustrating game of the season so far for the Eagles. Especially during the first half, I really felt West Coast should have been in front. And it was sort of telling that they weren't. It was the inaccuracies that we'll talk about later on. And it just shows the gap between them and the best sides of the competition. Adelaide were quality in the second half. The umpiring was questionable both ways. There were some horrible missed calls, especially in the second half. I thought the first half was all right. The second half had some controversies that were missed both ways. So it evens out, to be fair, in the end. But I'm not going to waffle on about that. But I thought it was a very frustrating watch for an Eagles fan. Now, I'll jump straight into it because I'm not going to hang around here. And the most frustrating thing was the inefficiency in front of the goal and inside 50 for the Eagles. So you've got the inside 50 count. It was 61-55, okay? So they only lost it by what? That's 6. They lost it by 6. They got enough supply up forward. But it was
so frustrating.
I don't know if we've necessarily seen much of what happened in that game throughout the season. I don't think we've necessarily been bombing it in long every time we go inside throughout the season so far. I think we've actually been able to hit up targets okay. But particularly in the first half especially, it was just bomb it long and hope for the best. Hope Jake Waterman could take the mark. Hope someone could clunk a grab or find a ball that spills out the back and rush it through for a goal. So that was really frustrating to watch. So the supply was there. That's the most frustrating thing. And especially after the first half, they were right in the game. But the inefficiency inside 50, they were going at less than 42% West Coast. Compared to Adelaide, I think they were nearly up at 60%. And at the end of the day, it's your fundamentals that will get you over the line. Bad kicking is bad football. So that was a frustrating watch. From a West Coast Eagles perspective. And Adelaide, after the second half, they put their foot down on the gas. I think they kicked and ended up with 19 goals, 14. So that's another big score for them. They are a very attackive side. They score big. So that was always going to be a problem for West Coast, especially with the 3 key tools. Obviously, Tex Walker, a laid out, that probably helped the Eagles slightly. Maybe, I'm not sure. But it was always going to go that way if you think about it. But the Eagles put up a good fight in the first half, and if they kept that up for the second half, maybe, who knows, you never know. I thought Sandy Brock did very well on Darcy Fogarty, especially for the first 3 quarters. He held him to, I think, 1 goal for the whole day and goalless for the first 3 quarters. So that is a positive. Sandy Brock is developing nicely for the Eagles down back. But there were a lot of players who had a poor game, especially poor second half. I think the back line had a day to forget, especially in the second half. It was just, I don't think Ruben Jinbi played very well. I think he's definitely a defender and he can be very good, but he has a lot of work to do to get there. But I have faith that he can get it done. And 5-6 years time, he'll be a premier defender for the side. Maybe they need to utilise him in a different role. I think they need to utilise Ryan Marrick in a different role. So season's end, I think Andrew McQualter is sort of going to turn things over a bit. He's already done that. He's already playing players in sort of different positions already. We've seen obviously Oscar Allen thrown back. Dua's sort of been a bit up and down everywhere on the field. So I think he'll sort of start to try and set these players in stone, bring in the players that he wants to play his style, and hopefully that can fix up a few of those things. But the back line did not have a great day. The forwards didn't make the most of their opportunities. Like I said, 61-55 inside 50s. They had 55 West Coast, so there was plenty of supply there. I thought the midfield did okay. I think centre clearances was 14-12 or something like that. So they did okay, but when they won them, they weren't very damaging. But I am a big fan of Liam Ryan and Tyler Brockman, especially in the middle. I think Tyler Brockman is in very good form, and that is a positive for the West Coast because he looks damaging and threatening when he goes, especially in the middle, in this type of form. So that is a positive for them. He was obviously on the brinks sort of last year, couldn't quite get into the side, had some issues to deal with. But it looks like he's put that behind him, and he's got his sights set forward to a big couple of years for the club. So I just think it was okay in the midfield. The hitouts were dominated again. The 2 rucks is an interesting thing. It's at the moment, I think the 2 rucks doing the 2 rucks is better than going in with either just Matt Flynn or just Bailey Williams. I think it's working okay, but by no means is it a long-term solution. Like, come season's end, it has to be addressed either at the draft, through trade, free agency, whatever it is. Something has to happen. So it's a short-term fix. It was going okay, and it will go okay probably for the rest of the year. I doubt we will ever win the hit-out count and maybe get within centre clearances, but it's a short-term fix. It's not a long-term fix, and obviously Riley O'Brien did very well against that. So that's a problem that needs to be addressed, because at the end of the day, the midfield's the engine room. Everything stems from the midfield, if you really look into it. So that needs to be addressed, and it was a deciding factor in the second half when the Adelaide midfield and Riley O'Brien and their rucks really got on top of West Coast. So I wouldn't say it's a bad performance. It was a very frustrating performance. I was very angry watching it, I must say. But I wouldn't call it a bad performance, but it was by no means a good performance. So it was sort of you take a lot out of it. We'll move on, learn the lessons, and get the job done hopefully next week. There is going to be problems with Jake Waterman. He looks to be on the sidelines. He is going to be out, I reckon, probably about 2 weeks, 4 weeks, hopefully nothing too serious with that shoulder. So that is a big blow. It looks like Oscar Allen will probably have an extended run at it up forward. There's opportunities to bring in Jack Williams. He's been playing very well in the waffle. Archer Reid could come back and get himself into a bit of form again. So there's luckily the key forward stocks are something that we do have depth in and do have somewhat of quality depth in. So if we're going to lose one position, it would be that one. But Jake is a big blow. His on-field leadership as well is a big blow to the side. Is Liam Baker in any MRO trouble? I'm not sure. It was a bit of a dirty act. I mean, you can see the argument for that, but I also didn't mind seeing the aggression, not the action. I didn't like the head into the back, the arm into the back of the head. But it was nice to see that sort of he cares and he was frustrated about how they played. So by no means am I condoning what he would do, and I expect it will be looked at by the MRO, definitely a fine. I don't think it should be a ban. Maybe it should be, I don't know, but he should definitely be reprimanded for that. But on the flip side, it was nice to see the passion in his feelings and in his emotions of not being able to win or play as well as they would have liked to, especially in the second half. So that was an interesting incident towards the end there, but it's good to see the passion. So I suppose what to work on going into this week would be the connection inside 50, if you were asking me. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of just long bombs and hope for the best to mark it inside 50. So just need to go back to the basics, hitting the targets inside 50, hitting them on the chest, the forwards leading up at the ball rather than waiting for a pack. We do have some good contested marks. Oscar Allen is a pretty good contested mark. Archer Reid can also grab one out of a pack. So there is a contested mark quality up forward for West Coast, but you don't really want that to be happening. You always want it on the lead, some good kicks inside 50. We probably don't have too many elite kicks inside 50. Harley Reid is a pretty good kick. I think that's about it. Tyler Brockman and Liam Ryan look okay when they go inside 50. So there's a few things there, but that's the basic I would be going back to, because the midfield held up okay. It was never going to win the contest against Adelaide. So I think that should be the main focus. And just physicality and laying tackles. It sounds basic, laying tackles and applying pressure. They did it pretty well, but in fairness, they did it pretty well, especially in the first half. They brought the intensity, but as you sometimes see with young sides, they'll sort of fade out towards the end, and that happens. So it's building up the tanks, sustaining pressure, working on sustaining the pressure. And it goes a long way. I know a lot of people will overlook it. Some people value it heavily as well. I am someone who values it heavily. If you can bring pressure, you're always in with a chance to turn the ball over and capitalise on the turnover. So that's something you just got to work on your pressure, maintaining the pressure. The tank will come, the endurance will come. So that's just something that you sort of got to wait out and develop well throughout the years to come. We've got a lot of young players who will build up the stamina to go and run out full games. I'm not extremely disappointed, but I'm not satisfied with that performance. So that's sort of, like I said, you learn from it and you move on to next week type of game. Next week is Geelong, and this could go one of two ways. It could be an absolute blowout, or West Coast could pull something out of the hat and pull off the miracle of the season. I don't see it being a close game unless West Coast win it. I don't really see Geelong winning by a small amount. If they're going to win by lots. At Optus Stadium, maybe. It'll sort of spark West Coast, who knows. But it's going to go one of two ways. West Coast will either get the win or Geelong will either get a big win. So that's how I saw the weekend's matchup, West Coast versus Adelaide. Yeah, there's not much more to say now. If you enjoyed today's analysis and you like what you see here on Footy West, make sure, give us a like, give us a subscribe. It all helps. Turn on the post notification bell so you don't miss the next video. I think I'll pop out some tips later this week for the upcoming round. But that is it today from Footy West. And I hope to see you again back soon on the channel.